Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sundays Are for the Girls. I'm your co-host, Nancy Avasian, and I've got Carol and Margie here with us. We're interviewing with Emiria Salzmann, which, Emiria, I have to say something right before we start this. It's actually a little funny. We've talked about you several times, and today I accidentally called you Emira. And Carol corrected me, and I was like, I don't know why I said that. We've said your name several times. And she's like, you should introduce her as Elmira. Yeah. She said you'd remember this story.
I answered to all of it, actually.
Yeah. So anyways, today we've got Emiria Salzmann with us. She is a highly successful collegiate coach and just an overall super great human being. So we're going to get to know you a little bit today, and we're super excited.
Well, thank you for having
me. See you again, Emiria.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you, Emiria. I mean, I think that the last time I saw you and, had a conversation with you was in 2019 at the alumni game.
Oh my God.
And what the heck? Times have just changed so.
Oh my gosh. Did you guys beat us that year? You might have done.
I'm sorry,
no.
What?
Did you guys beat us that year? The alumni?
I don't remember. I didn't play much because I was kind of carrying a hamstring something.
Yeah, that was good for our team.
I was just there to kind of.
Good idea.
Yeah, but that was it's been a while, and I just
it's been a while.
Nice to see a familiar face. You
guys look so great. You look so happy and healthy and and strong.
It's like a facade, totally. But yeah, I am.
Until you make it.
We're barely holding it together.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I am trying to stay positive during these times. I mean, it's been nuts,
Yeah.
That's all you can do. I mean, you above all people, have been facing it. So, I mean, in terms of tumultuous times,
yeah.
But we're going to get into that soon,
Okay.
Working into that though, over the last few days, it's just been wild, I've felt this weird anxiety, in between, my drills, I'm training, I'm out there, and then all of a sudden I'm distracted because I'm focused on what's going on in the world. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but
no, totally. I know we all do, for sure. We've talked about it, and Emiria, maybe you can kind of touch on that a little bit. There's obviously a lot going on right now in the world, and maybe if you can kind of touch a bit, on the political unrest surrounding George Floyd. If you can kind of maybe touch on that and let us know a little bit about how you're feeling with what's going on right now.
I think none of us live in a bubble. So anytime these things happen, they're going to have an impact, especially if you're a caring human being and you value human life. It's a terrible thing. I actually haven't watched the video myself because I'm very sensitive to violence. And so I actually don't watch a lot of the news because it affects me very deeply when people are harmed. And so I haven't seen the videos, but I'm very aware of what's going on. I have, I like to read a lot, and I like to think a little bit in terms of life experiences, not so much as these incidents that happen that are racism or even with the presidency, the unrest that the presidency has caused.
Did we lose her?
Because there is no change without revolution. There is no change, no true self-awareness until these types of things happen and that good people respond. And so I think history will show that the greatest changes in civil rights have come from revolution, from terrible things happening, and by people saying that they've had enough. And I actually think this generation, which has endured so much, there has been so much that has happened in the past 20 years, are symbolically being prepared to lead the world into a new era. I really believe that. So I give a lot of respect and a lot of praise to young people because they will be the ones to say, we don't want to live like this. This is not the world we want to live in, and that are also being prepared, rightly or wrongly, to handle tough times. So this is a really tried and tested generation, and I think that they will come through and actually help us make the changes that we need to make. Unfortunately, there's human life that is lost. It's horrific. It's terrible. You never want it to happen. But having said that, I see all of the positive things going on and the way young people interact with each other. I'm in the college environment, so I see the young 17 to 22-year-old population, and they are the most amazing people, the most forgiving, the most non-judgmental, the most considerate, the most compassionate, the most sacrificial. They're amazing people. So I have faith that even though it looks scary on the outside, what it's actually doing is inciting change. But change comes with resistance. There will be resistance, and it's the part that we have to go through together. We have to be willing to walk through the fire together if there's going to be true change. So
yeah, Emiria, I just love the way you put that, that this is something that we all have to like be talking about. And I think that's why we brought it up right away, because we just go on this podcast and pretend like what's going on is not going on.
yeah.
So, it's very brave for all of us to be showing up too. It's sometimes difficult to show up and when you're going through things. And so I appreciate all of us for being here today, because when things like this happen, it's hard to show up sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's enough to get people down. I mean, you've got the coronavirus, you have shelter in place, sports activities are stopped. We're so used to driving, we're so used to, and yet we can't. We're so it's very difficult to do. Like for example, today about an hour ago, I got a text from one of our freshmen, and she had gotten wind of a run that was going on to contribute to Black Lives Matter, the movement, and wanted to know if our team wanted to participate. And I thought, here you go, have a young person, not yet 8 or just turned 18 years old, wanting our team to be involved in this. So I look at those moments. I think there's a famous quote by Mr. Rogers, and he said something like, his mother used to tell him, in tough times, always look for the helpers. Because when we see tough times, we see all the negativity, the looting, the this, the that, but we forget to see the helpers. And I think there are far more people helping and wanting to incite change than there are people who support that kind of behavior, that kind of racism. So I try to remember that myself and keep going. So but I agree with you, Carol, just to be here and talking about it, that's part of the solution. That we actually say, we make a record of ourselves saying, this isn't okay. Yeah. And this is how I want to affect it. I want to show up. I want to be here. I want to talk about it. I want my team to address it. And that's how those changes are made, just within your own little circle.
Yeah, and it can be uncomfortable sometimes to share, to put yourself out there and to share your opinion about something, because it's very easy. It's such a sensitive subject that it's very easy to offend people, but at the same time, it is not okay to sit silent either.
Yeah.
So, you're never going to please everyone. And I think that we need to remind ourselves that during times like this, and that, it's better to say something than nothing at all.
Yeah.
And just to be mindful that it is such a sensitive subject, we do sit in a fat puddle of white privilege, and to sit there and be like, we get it, is we also can't say that either,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's try and segue into, what we're here for, but I'm glad that we touched on it. I think it was necessary. But how are you holding things down in nomination land? How are you keeping the girls motivated during this time? I mean, it's pretty wild.
I really want me what they need. So, we have optional team meetings on Zoom. We still do our leadership council meetings. We still do our captains meetings. So for me, communication is key. Communication is absolutely vital to any culture sustaining itself and sharing ideas and staying connected. We have a mentor on the team where each player has a buddy on the team that they go. And we also set up all of our recruits with a buddy on the team. And they are constantly in communication, constantly in touch. But when I don't know, because I don't pulse on that, because, you know, I'm going through my own things, but I'm also 44. So I don't know anymore what it's like to be 17 to 22 in this generation. So when we have our council meetings, I often ask, what can I do? Is my communication enough? Have I missed anything? Do you need guidance with leadership? And we bring up stories and we bring up issues that we talk about that help cultivate leadership. But I always put it back on the team. Do you feel comfortable? Have you been affirmed? Have you been supported? What is the pulse of the team? How can we bring the group together? And I ask them to guide me. So whatever it is that they need, I provide. And I insert my own things in there, but I think it's, because the culture is healthy, I trust what they are asking me to do. If my team culture wasn't healthy, I would be a little bit more like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it. But because they're so used to adversity and they're so used to getting through tough times, they're a championship team, so they know how to win and they know what it takes to do those things. So you have to trust them. So I do that a lot. I give them a lot of trust and a lot of faith, because that helps me grow and learn as a coach. Because I don't want to be the same every year. I have to adapt to what they need. So I really actually rely on them quite a bit to help me. And Luna, my assistant coach, hey, did I do enough? How was I in the meeting? Did I come across well? How did that, when I said this, how did that come across? Was it too harsh? Was it not harsh enough? So I'm constantly looking for feedback on how I am. And I think that helped me quite a bit.
I think a huge benefit of having you as a coach was your communication and, you know, your ability to relate to the different players on the team and to really put that effort in, because personally, I didn't really have a female coach until I was in college. And so, and to have like an ex-pro female coach as well, I think was huge in terms of like, you were a demonstrating leader, you know, not just were you a coach, but you're a female coach who was an ex-pro, and that leadership by demonstration was huge, I think, for me personally, and I think Margie as well. I'm sure she feels the same way.
I'm a little jealous here, you know, I have to say, because I've never been
Have
lucky
eligibility left.
I have never had a female coach. And like, you know, and I've obviously played with a lot of, you know, a lot of women that have played everywhere. And I've, you know, it's like, it's almost like I have to just live through other people's experiences. So that's just so great to hear, you know, to be able to have someone that you look up to and as a female has kind of been through maybe what you're looking to try to do in your life is just so inspiring.
Well, thank you for saying that. You know, I got started coaching really young. And at the time, when I started club coaching, I was only one of 2 women in the club. And I think I was 21 at the time. And it was a difficult time. I mean, coaching, where my path went was riddled with challenges. But along the way, I always wanted to lift women up with me. So I never wanted to be that woman that put other women down. Never wanted to make myself look better at the expense of another woman. So if I can be at the forefront and take some of the burden on, so it's easier for you guys. So look at you, you're running a club. I mean, that was unheard of in my time. No women did this. No young women did this. You know, we went off and we played for men, older men. It's just how it was. There were very few women doing it. So I take that role really seriously. So I'm willing to take some of that burden to make the path easier for other women to get there. And it's like a joy to do it. I am so grateful. Like when I see you guys and I say, you look so healthy and so vibrant, it makes me happy, you know, because I want women to fully step into their power and into themselves. And so if I can help that, that's what I should be doing as a coach. That should be part of my job description. So I'm glad you guys feel that was beneficial, because it is a new experience for a lot of girls to be coached by a woman, and it's a different dynamic. Yeah.
But you obviously grew up playing during the stone ages of soccer, and
Kind of.
but in all seriousness, there were hardly opportunities. I mean, for women at that
Right.
time, and so what sparked your interest to play soccer to begin with?
I don't know. I think it was a calling. I was pretty athletic, and I remember I was in elementary school, and they used to pass out the sign-up sheet for summer sports. Like, oh, sign up for basketball or camp or whatever, and they had this soccer camp, and I asked my parents if I could go, and I
Was
was
it for
allowed to
girls?
go. What was that?
Was it for girls?
And it wasn't for girls. I think it was just it was like a rec league. It's like a local rec league, and you play like 10 games, and you get a jersey, and it's reversible. It's like we were green and yellow, and today we were green, and then tomorrow we were yellow. It's like the whole thing. And I just from day one loved to play soccer. I don't know what it was. I had asthma, so it wasn't easy for me. We didn't have much money. My family had 8 kids. So I always had to get rides to all the games. So I had to do it by myself, but I just always loved it. It was just a calling. I don't know how to explain it. It was a part of me.
Yeah. So like what resources did you have like at your disposal to be able to play and train other than, you played in that rec league, but
not much. I mean, so as I played, I became a scholarship. So the leagues would sponsor me and they would pay for me to play. And that's how we afforded it. And, I would go to the shoe bank and I would get used cleats, and my first pair of cleats were white and they were plastic, and I loved them so much. They were my white plastic cleats and they were so great. Had blisters. They were cracked after a while, but I love my cleats. And I think it was because, you really find out what you love when it's not easy for you. I would go out and kick the ball against the garage door, and the driveway was curved and it went downhill into the street. So if I kicked it a certain way, I couldn't catch the ball and it would roll into the street. So I had to learn how to kick the ball a certain way so it would stay on the driveway so I could not have the street. It's like, those are the little things that make you, it's a hot day, you have nowhere to go, you're playing in bare feet, and you're just trying to figure out how to kick the ball properly against a garage door. But it was all from my own heart. It was all out of my own desire to do something. Nobody told me I had to. And I was good at it. So I had a natural inclination for it. So I was like, wow, I can do this. And probably did it. I was very selfish. I never passed the ball when I was younger.
I was like, never.
Did anyone pass the ball when they were younger?
No, I don't think so. So I think I was
no.
in good company. I think I was all right. But yeah, but I don't know. It just, because I didn't have a lot of resources, I really had to love it to get it done.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, did you say you were playing alongside was it all females or male and female?
Yeah, it was girls. It was just a girls league. And I was super competitive.
Yeah.
So I was in that league.
Yeah.
And then, so there were girls teams. And then eventually I got graduated to play on a select team, which they had just started. So that happened. And then I went to high school, and then I graduated at 16. So I was very young still as I was going through. And so I went to the junior college when I was 17, and there I started training with men. And that was where I think my true soccer life began, was training alongside men, sharing their competitive desire, having to get faster, quicker, stronger, more adept. I think that was where I really blossomed.
Yeah.
And got a lot better.
Nancy, I think you can relate to Emiria a little bit too. She has 8 brothers and sisters. Didn't you say you grew up with 14 people in your house?
Not my house, no. So I grew up in an apartment, and there were like 14 guys. I was the only girl who would hang out with them all day, every day. Yeah, my childhood was, and we actually all went to school together. We were all within like a couple years like of each other. So it was almost like they were my siblings. Like I still keep in touch with them till today. You know, some of them are married and, you know, all doing things with their life. But yeah, it kind of, I feel like has made me who I am. I was such a tomboy growing up. So I can completely relate to that. Yeah, absolutely.
We should interview you.
Yeah, right.
How did you survive that?
Yeah.
Where did you sleep?
I love
Wow.
Margie thought we all lived together.
I was like, wow, that's really impressive. You're like, no,
Yeah.
not together, but
Not together, but in the building, so somewhat together.
Yeah, exactly. It really teaches you some grit when you're young.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, actually, the thing with tech ball, which is really refreshing, and I think that's something that we all enjoy, is that we actually get to play alongside guys and even with them if we wanted to in competition, which is very unique. It's not something that you see really in any sports. So I think that's something that was super exciting for us because you can kind of in a way prove yourself and prove all these things. It's almost, you know, with us being so competitive, it's exciting, and it is exciting to see women and men together on the same level. And that's kind of what tech ball is, which is great. And with us, with what we're doing with Bella Tech, which we kind of touched a bit about with female inspiration and all of that, we obviously built this club based on us wanting to really the drive to inspire female athletes and just kind of create more opportunities for women. You know, we maybe just like you probably haven't had a lot of opportunities, or you kind of have to go through it to get there. Did you have any like female, or who were your female inspirations growing up? Did you have anyone specifically that you remember looking up to?
No. It actually wasn't until I got into my first years of coaching that I really, I take that back. When I was in high school, I actually had gone to a Sonoma State soccer game. So I went to high school in Santa Rosa, so Sonoma State's 15 minutes from my high school. And it was the year they won the national championship. So we took a field trip and went and watched them play. And I'm like, oh my God, these women are crazy. Like I had not seen women like that before. I was shocked at the level of competitiveness, the level of the game, the speed, the seriousness. I mean, they were so serious and they were so physically, like I was terrified of them. I was thinking those girls would kill me if I stepped on the field. They would destroy me. I'd never seen that before. Not a team like that. I'd never seen a group of women that driven and that palpable in their energy and their power and their competitiveness. So the fact that I ended up playing for Sonoma State was like destiny. I mean, I thought I was playing for the national team when I got recruited. I'm like, I am literally going to play for the national team. They were that good. They were that good. They really were. So, but that was my first experience of actually witnessing a team of women, because at the time, women are always like, women cry too much. Women are catty. Women are this, women are that, right? But I saw women not catty, not crying, not, unapologetically competitive. And it completely blew my mind. I was like, I had no idea that these people existed. Yeah. And that was my first real life experience of seeing that. And then when I became a coach, that was when the U.S. national team in '98 won the World Cup with the Brandy Chastain and the Julie Foudy. And that was the first time that I actually had female role models that were professional players. But as far as my youth went, I didn't have it. I saw it sometimes in other sports. Like I used to like to watch tennis. Mm-hmm. And so there was Chris Everett, Martina Navratilova, but that was a individual sport. But I can't remember watching men's team sport. It was always men, or once in a while the Olympics, but most of the coverage was male dominated. So I didn't have those role models. Mm-hmm. And all of my brothers were older. So it was, when I got, really tested physically in my youth, it was by my brothers. So I, at a young age, carried that same kind of criticism of women Like,
Mhm.
oh, women are soft. I'm not like that. You know, I'm much more competitive. And so I carried that same like discriminatory like idea because I didn't have the examples. But I completely flipped that once I got into coaching.
Yeah.
And so no, there are women out there like that, and we have to find each other. You have to find your people. You have to find people that share your rhythm and that share your competitive spirit. And that's what I ended up finding at Sonoma State, which is why I'm so driven in that program, because it gave me that. I found a place to come home to. So I always wanted to create a program for the most competitive women. Like, where can they come to where they know they're going to be valued and recognized and seen and nurtured and uplifted and not neutralized.
Yeah.
But I did not have that when I was younger. It was all primarily male. Like, I used to watch boxing, so I liked Muhammad Ali,
Love
Mike
that.
Tyson.
Yeah.
You know, I watched football, Joe Montana, you know, the 49ers. So these were like the people, Michael Jordan in basketball. These were the people I watched growing up. But as I got older, my eyes were opened to the level that women could get to.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I feel like there was definitely a part in my life where I feel like I thought the same way as well. And I don't know if that was like mostly maybe around my childhood, but it was always male dominant, like everywhere with everything I was watching, with whether it was, you know, what my dad had on TV, like boxing. He was a boxer, so we would watch Tyson, Holyfield, and you know, so. But that's interesting that you say that. I feel like you've kind of come. It's like full circle moment with you being back at Sonoma.
Yeah.
That's cool. You know, that's so exciting to hear.
And it
Yeah.
shows too, like you kind of said it in your own words, the progression though of the opportunities of how women in the soccer profession has grown. Because obviously at the beginning of it, you didn't have any of those female figures to look up to as a coach. But obviously going into it later down the line, it does show that there was a pretty big stride in allowing females these opportunities to play in sport and to coach. And it has grown. Like, obviously we're not even close to where we want to be yet, but we've actually grown a lot, and especially now in 2020. I mean, there's more and more female coaches coming about. There's more and more female athletes pushing the barriers and trying to do more and asking for equality. And you just said it right there. So it's pretty cool for you and your kind of pathway to show us and really express that you actually got to live through it and finally see the full circle come around, like Nancy said. So that's pretty cool. So touching a little bit back onto your college days, I know those sometimes from your past stories have been a little bit difficult, you know.
Yeah.
You always told us you weren't always, you know, the number one player. So obviously you had to fight against some adversity and you had to really create this mentality to be the best of the best. It wasn't just given to you. Like, yeah, of course, soccer players are naturally gravitated to the sport because they end up being good. Any professional athlete or anyone at a higher level, when they pick something up and they're just naturally good at it, of course they love it. But to be where you got to, I mean, you hold the single season goal record, right, at Sonoma State?
I think I'm second now.
Second
I think
now?
I'm second. No. Yeah, I think I'm second or third, and I can't remember. I'm second in total goals scored.
Total goals, but single season,
Yeah,
you hold the single season record or no?
No, I think Brandy Yates has that because I
Okay.
think she's at 18.
Okay, but still, 16 is pretty memorable.
I'm all right with it.
You know, exactly.
I'll take it.
Exactly. And so, I mean, you've boasted some great career stats. And so when did this mentality really set in? Like, entering the program, as you said, was really difficult because you did have some big players. You're filling these shoes of some incredible female athletes. And so how did you really evolve your mentality?
You know, it comes from hardship. I'm just a big believer in it. I think a good friend of mine says you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's something that you guys were touching on a little bit earlier. I forget the context, but it came to my mind is like, I have always been okay with not being good at the best thing yet. So that's I want to repeat that, not being good at the best thing yet. But if I'm fighting to be the best at the best thing, that's satisfying to me. But I don't want to be great at the average thing, because anyone can do it. So I think from a young age, I had that sort of mentality. I skipped a grade in school, so I was very driven. I was constantly driving and pushing and driving and pushing. But when you have hard times, and I've had a lot of those, but when you have hard times, it is only you against your own belief in yourself. That's it. There is nothing else. Nobody can save you. Nobody can make it better. The only thing you can do is respond. And I think this is why the greatest players, the greatest athletes, the greatest teams in the world all have a story of hardship. Something that tested them, something that knocked you to your knees, and you had to respond. And I had moments like that in my life. I had pain, I had hardship, and I guess I chose, maybe through some weird combination of genetically having that drive, maybe because I had great parents, maybe because I had that nurtured me in the right way, maybe because I finally found a coach that could help me. Maybe it was all those things that came together, and it created this environment that I said, I will not waste my time. I refuse to do it. So after my first year at Sonoma State, in which I redshirted and was the worst player on the team, and I was like, I'm sure they're going to cut me. And I walk into my coach's office, and I remember telling him, I don't want to be average for you. I want to be one of your great players. Now, imagine being 17 years old, worst player on the team, can't pass fitness. You're like, they're probably going to cut me. Nobody wants you on their team. Telling your head coach, I want to be great. And I don't know what came over me that day. I don't know what it was. I hadn't planned to say those words. I don't know what it was, but I want to be great. Help me be great. That's what I want to be. And he listened to me, and he helped me, and he gave me the tools. And once I got that confidence, once I was affirmed, I was like, I will not waste my time here. I want this. I choose it. I accept it. It is going to be hard. I will not cry. I will not blame. I will not be a victim. I am going to control my own destiny. And I think a lot of that is that my parents got out of my way. Nobody was trying to make it easier for me. The players certainly didn't try to make it easier for me. There was nobody there to soften the blow. So anytime a blow happened, I got to get back up. Anytime I wasn't good enough, anytime I couldn't pass fitness, I had to get more fit. I mean, so I think that helped a lot, that I was in the right environment to cultivate that. I give a lot of credit to that coach for seeing something in me, even though I wasn't there yet, but he could see that little nugget of greatness that I wanted to have, and he trusted me. So I think having coaches that can see that and recognize it is big. That was huge, because he didn't cut me. I mean, if he had cut me, I wouldn't be here today. In that one moment that I walked into that man's office, all of this has happened. So I think that has been a great ally in my life. That is a person that came along at the right time for the right kid who had suffered hardship and who was willing to be uncomfortable. It's the same for you guys. I know all of you have been uncomfortable. All of you have cried. All of you have had tears behind closed doors. You would never show to anybody, because on the outside you look strong. But the strength came from the tears that you cried and that choice you made when you were on your knees and you said, I refuse to give up. It will not define me. That's what separated you guys. So there are players that are equally talented, but don't have the ability to get through hardship. And I think that is the key. You have to be able to go through that to get anywhere. So does that answer that question?
I know you're talking about how tough we are, but like I feel like the waterworks coming.
I know.
Yeah, you're making me cry. It's not because you're running me through 15-120.
I'll be right back.
Hold
Hold on, springs right now.
which you're like cruising through, not hard for you at all. But we all have those stories, right? I mean, maybe that's what's going to make your club special, is because you're accumulating women that want more. You're accumulating women that have been through hardship. This is not a sport that you grew up playing. You have to carve your own path. Only a certain type of girl can do that. Not everybody is going to walk into your situation. This is not a sure thing. You can only have hardened athletes do what you do. These are girls that have a story, and that's what's going to make you special, because you're going to attract more girls like that. Like, oh God, I want to do that. I'm willing to throw my hat in the ring for that. Like, sure, I'm going to do that. I'm going to move down there and try this out. So I think that's what's going to be so special about your club, is that you have to take a risk to do what you're doing. And you've already practiced it. So
I totally agree with you. And I think that something that we're all really excited about are just, like you said, the women who are currently already involved with the club. I mean, between like Margie and Nancy, I mean, I tell you guys all the time how much you guys inspire me. And then not to mention that the 3 women that we have on board that are officially on Bellatech, I mean, I've known them since cradle, you know, I mean, we go way back and we won titles together young. And so it's just so cool to see all of these women, strong women doing amazing things today, all come together on the same platform. And I'm just excited to see where it's gonna go.
It's so exciting. If I was younger, I'd be right there alongside you. I'd be like, let's do this. How fun is this?
Oh, you're honorary Bellatech forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to play one time.
Oh, you can try.
You are one of the 3 she just mentioned that she didn't.
Yeah, you didn't know?
No.
No.
You're on the team. You got the jersey. We'll make it reversible for you. Yeah.
I will rock that.
Your very beginning days. Just make it,
Okay.
Your childhood a little bit.
Oh.
I think the thing that stuck out with me, or to me the most, though, was the moment where you walk into your coach's office. Because a lot of us as female athletes, and just athletes in general, like, we want to do it on our own. We want to do things on our own. And just as strong female figures and confident women. But I've learned more times than not over the past decade to ask for help when you need it. So that moment where you're like, can you help me? But I want to be your best. And in that moment, you opened yourself up, and he's like, absolutely. He gave you then the tools to get you to where you are now. And I think I can revert back to my college playing career too. I mean, that's exactly what I needed. I asked for help when I needed it. Even now in my professional career, years past, it's like whenever I'm struggling, I've realized that you shouldn't be ashamed of asking for help, because it's only going to make you more knowledgeable. It's only actually going to grow you and make you stronger. And so it's something that I think any actual successful person in any realm, whether it's soccer, whether it's owning your own business, just ask for help when you need it. And it's such a good tool to do and to use.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, I think a lot about, like, when you ask for help, because when we grew up, it was like, you don't want to ask for help sometimes because it's a sign of weakness and nobody wants to show it. But I think when you don't ask your help, you're putting your sword up and you're fighting demons that might not even exist. Some of it's in your own mind. Some of it you're putting things on other people, like, well, this person created this for me, and it might not even be true, but you create these stories in your head about all these things that you're fighting. So when you don't ask for help, you've got your sword up to the rest of the world. But when you ask for help, you put your sword down and you look internally and you empower yourself. So you don't fight things that are figments of your imagination. You only take your own power and you say, this is where I am. Here's where I need, this is my deficiency at this time. You have something that can help me. Would you like to help me with that? And it becomes a very wholesome activity. So the only way to grow is through humility. It's the only way to grow. If you don't have humility and you can't say, hey, I'm struggling, then you are fighting, invisible demons, and it takes your energy away from your aim. And that will derail a lot of people. I know you guys have known a lot of girls that could have done something, could have been something, had that thing, but then couldn't overcome certain things, couldn't do because they weren't able to do it. So I think asking for help is one of the most powerful things you can do, and you regain power. You don't give your power away or fight over things that might not even be true. And we do that all the time. We create these scenarios that it was like, what? It's not even the truth about what's happening, but we do it to ourselves. So I think that's an important message to say, and especially with women who have so much on our plates and so much pressure from the outside world to be a certain way. We have to be strong but soft. We have to be nurturing but ambitious. We have to be this. It's like constant, those messages, to just be able to say, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me? I value this about you. I lift you up. You lift me up. And then in that interaction, you become much greater than what you were before when you were fighting things.
Yeah, hard to follow that. That was totally accurate. I mean,
It's done that.
were you going to say something? Sorry.
Margie, or
Oh no, I was saying Nancy. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
oh no, you got the floor, girl.
Okay, cool. Well, then I guess I'm just going to go into the next question then. But Emiria, did you ever have dreams to play professionally when you were in college, or when did that kind of foster?
No, so I think once I was in college and it was semi-pro teams that were around the area, and Julie Foudy actually played on one, and Brandon Chastain played out in Sacramento, and I had teammates that played with them. And so they would go in our off season and they would go play with this semi-pro team that was very good. I think it was the #1 team in the world at the time. And so we had a good team. So then we would get invited to go try out. And so that's how I started to even think beyond college, because at that time there was no league and no professional league or anything like that. So that's when I got the idea that I wanted to continue playing. And I wanted to go somewhere with all of those habits I had learned in college. Like I wasn't ready to be done with those habits. Like I did this. This is who I am now. It's a part of me. Like I don't want it to just end. Like I want to feed this part of me that took so long, so much discipline to cultivate, so many hard times. Like it seemed like a waste to not keep pursuing that. Also the way you guys, I'm sure, feel, because you're sitting here now and you need somewhere to go with that competitive spirit. You need, like I spent so much time on myself as a human being and as a physical athlete. I want to keep feeding that. I want to nurture that. So that was when I really found that team. And then I ended up playing for a brief amount of time. And then I got into coaching. And so I was playing, and then ended up 3 years after college moving to Holland because I had Dutch citizenship through my parents. So that's when I moved to Holland. And that was kind of a bold move at the time too.
Did you?
Yeah, what was it like?
I did play there. I had gone over with an injured knee. I had a torn meniscus. So it was not my most illustrious playing career, but I ended up suffering a really terrible injury there that eventually took me home. But yeah, it was a crazy life. I was working for Shell Global Solutions. I was getting up at 5 a.m., taking a tram to the train, taking the train to Shell. And then at lunch, I would go to the hospital to do rehab. I would go back to Shell. And then I would 3 times a week take a 2-hour one-way trip to training, because my aunt lived in Holland. So she lived on one side of the country. So I would travel to the other side of the country, train, take a 2-hour trip back on the train. And the days I wasn't at training, I was at the gym. So I would have these like 16-hour days, and they were crazy. And it was like during winter too. So it was like icy cold. Oh my gosh, it was brutal. But I was all by myself. Nobody watching me, no more of the glory days of college, none of it. It's just me wanting to play and wanting to do it. And I learned a lot about myself and what I was capable of doing, and the courage that I had to stand alone, to not need witnesses all the time.
Yeah.
To do something by myself, which I think is a really powerful to learn as a young woman. But eventually I suffered the injury and I had to move home, and that began a very dark period of my life, so recovering from the injury and going out of the game.
Yeah.
So, but it was an amazing experience. And the cool thing about it is in Holland at the time, female athletes weren't that common.
Mm-hmm.
But the team I played for was so competitive. It was this weird thing. Like, you wouldn't see female athletes walking around, like we always walk around in soccer shorts. Like, nobody there did that, right?
Yeah.
So you would never know. But then I would get to training and I'm like, these girls are crazy. Oh my God, they're so crazy. Wow. Like, another level entirely. So it was like, I've been so fortunate to meet women like that, like, just to see that you can be that way and still be a woman. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other, and I appreciated that.
Yeah. That sounds, tough. I feel like a lot of us have, gone through injuries and had to deal with so many different adversities in our career. Some people in the prime of their career, some people a little later. And like you mentioned, playing in this foreign area and having to deal with all these different things. And on top of that, you're working and dealing with an injury. What advice can you give to athletes that are kind of dealing with injuries and all that that comes with it?
Oh, injuries are so hard. I think the hardest part of an injury is that your mind knows what you want to do, but your body can't do it. Like, even when you return to a drill and you're like, no, I was going to pass it one touch, but I couldn't get there fast enough, or like whatever it is, it's the mind moving faster than the speed of your body. Your mind driving you to get somewhere and your body can't keep up. And that is so hard. That is so hard because sport is so creative and it's thinking in the moment, but your body can't meet you there where you want it to be. And I think when you're an athlete, you have those trainings where everything's flowing. It's like a spiritual experience. When your mind and body become one, you just are fully in control in that moment. It's very spiritual. So when you don't have that, it's that loss of that disconnect that hurts you so much. I mean, athletes can handle pain. The pain isn't what holds someone back. It's that trying to get it, like, will I ever be the same again? Will I ever be in that moment again? That's, I think, what hurts people.
Yeah.
I just think that the body is an amazing machine. And I have seen people with the most horrific injuries still come back, still be able to play, still be able to participate, and actually at times come back mentally stronger than they would have had they not had the injury. More gratitude, more appreciative, smarter about the game, more team-based than individual-based. So it has value to go through the process. The other side of it is you can't do anything about the injury. It happens in the blink of an eye. And that is the risk that you take when you're in sport. It can happen to anybody at any given time. So it makes no sense to lament it. It makes no sense really to be like, why did this happen to me? Which I did as an athlete. I did do that. But it doesn't make much sense because that's what you sign up for when you're a competitive person and you push your body. Yeah. But I think always looking at every single challenge as a way to grow, and how can I come out of this, and feeding the mind, because the brain is more powerful than the physical self. So if you train your mind and you get your mentality a certain way, you can still have everything that you want to have. But a lot of people give up when the body gives up. That's wrong.
Yeah.
If you give up before your body, you're not truly, you could do it, but you're not a truly competitive person.
Yeah.
A truly competitive person, the brain will drive them. And that journey is powerful because you develop compassion, and you have an ear for people who suffer. If you have never suffered, how do you understand the suffering of another human being? So if you suffer in your injury, it becomes a tool that you use in life to be a better teammate, a better parent, a better mom, a better friend, a better girlfriend, whatever it is. So I think it still has value. pain is valuable. Suffering is valuable. But I think it's your perspective and how you look at it.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm sure like you guys have all had to deal with injuries, and I remember when I tore my ACL, I remember looking down at my own legs and thinking my leg has never looked like this, like muscle mass gone overnight, you know. And it is such a mental thing more so than anything. It's a mental journey that you go through, and you said it best, you know. At the end of the day, it's what it's all your mind. It's not so much your body and how much you're willing to really get back into and have that competitive nature and set your goals. So I can totally relate to that. And I think that at the end of the day, when you do get there, it's just, it's this feeling like, wow, you know, I did it. And that's exactly what you've worked towards. So I think that's great advice. And, you know, and just to surround yourself with positivity and be around people who are uplifting you and really just being mentally tough. I totally think that that's very well done. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a little bit more fortunate too. I think nowadays there's the advanced science research, ways that we can treat our bodies. You know, they're coming out with new stuff every single day.
Oh, it's an incredible time to be an athlete.
Yeah, and so
like, where is this stuff? We got a bag of ice. You know, just ice it. We're like, okay, I can't move my neck, but
wait it a little bit, you'll be fine. Are you good to play tomorrow? No, yes, okay, let's figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it's so crazy what they've done with modern technology to advance the healing process of our bodies. So it's been pretty cool. So we're a little bit more fortunate. But again, I think that any athlete, even with the most care in the world, it does come down to that mentality piece, because you might have the best doctors, the best resources to get you back to where you need to go. But if you're mentally having that block in your head of, oh, well, I have this going on, so I'm not going to be able to do this, instead of thinking more as an optimist and saying, you know, oh, I do have this injury, how can I work around it to be successful still? I might have to change something, but let me see if I can get better in these areas to elevate my game to where I was, or even farther than what it was before my injury. So it's pretty cool.
You know, I think a lot of it too, like with women, it's to have self-love, because I know I spent a tremendous amount of my younger life, like being like, why can't my body do it? Why can't I be more fit? Why can't I be faster? Why can't I be lighter? Why can't, right? And you're in the best physical shape of your life, and yet we constantly talk negatively to ourselves, right? Oh, I wanted to do this. I want to achieve that. I wanted this. And then we get an injury and it's like, oh, why can't my body be here? Why? We're constantly beating ourselves up. And I have flipped that now, like, you know, just in my own journey. I think when I got pregnant, I saw my body totally differently. Like, I cannot believe that I can carry a huge, like, what a gift that is. And your body changes and all of that. And I really see now, like, when you get injured, you have to love yourself and you have to truly respect what your body does for you. Like, you got massively injured, and overnight it is repairing itself. It's sending things to the tendons, the ligaments. It's feeding your brain. It's feeding your muscles. It's feeding your heart. Your blood is pumping. It's just a tremendous, hold on one second. My son's coming in.
Oh gosh, my dog's barking too.
Really, when you get an injury or you're feeling down, is to really respect and have a love for what your body does for you and what it allows you to do and participate in. And I think that's a big part of it, because if you constantly are frustrated and you're constantly like, why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? Your body will respond to the negative talk that you have. But if you are like, gosh, I'm so appreciative, and you empower yourself to get better, to heal, and to appreciate what you have, I think it goes a long way. I'm a big believer in the mind-body connection.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think that it's really helpful too when you're in like a low point, whether it be for injury or what have you, just looking at that point in your life as like a part of the process, you know, and that like the good comes with the bad.
Yes.
And good wouldn't be as good if you didn't have those bad moments.
Yes.
And to like in those moments, trying to have that self-awareness can be difficult. I know firsthand for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, reminding yourself that that's the moment that really will form you, will help you respond, I think, in the most positive way, and constantly reminding yourself of your goals too. I think during those low moments is good advice too.
I agree.
So Emiria, let's now get into your coaching career a little bit.
Okay.
Of course, you spoke a little bit about your professional career. You started coaching early on, went back to play professional, came back overseas or from overseas. And then really that sounds like the moment where you transition full on into like, I'm going to embody this. I still want to love the game, but I'm going to be an educator as opposed to on the field playing it. Let's talk, just briefly about your years coaching and where you've led up to today.
I always feel like I tried to run away from coaching so early. I remember when I first started coaching, like my college coach was like, "Oh, you'd be a great coach." And I said, "What are the hours?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm graduating, right? So I don't want to work a 9 to 5. Like, who wants to do that? I still want to play. How am I going to train?" So I thought, oh, I could train like 3 days a week. Oh, this is great. And they'll pay me for it. Wonderful. This is even better. So I went into coaching kicking and screaming. It was not, I didn't have a natural inclination for it, but I saw that the love I had for the team sport really is about the human connection when you're part of a great team and what happens in that moment. And I found it as a coach with my players. And I found such satisfaction of trying to recreate wonderful team environments as a coach, that I now had influence as a coach, and that the things that that hurt me, I could now control, and the things that I valued, I could support. So that's kind of how I just fell into it. And then when I came back from Holland, I wanted to get my master's degree because I thought, well, maybe I will be a teacher, or because I like to talk, I like to teach, I like to read, I like to study. And everywhere I went, I kept having affirmations of coaching. And then I had a very bad experience with one team. And I said, you know what, that's it. I'm not coaching anymore. This isn't what I signed up for. It's kind of ruining my life. I'm not happy. I'm being attacked. And it didn't feel good. I was a young woman. So I got out of coaching, moved back home. And then when I moved back home, suddenly all these jobs became available. So the semi-pro soul team, I got that job. And then the junior college position opened up. I got that job. I was coaching club. And then I became a girls coaching director. And I'm like, sometimes maybe the path is laid before you. Sometimes you don't seek, but you follow what is in front of you. And so I just did that. And I would just go faithfully. Okay, I'll do this coaching job. I didn't have grand schemes of anything. I just want to do the best job. I just want to be good at what I do. And that eventually led me to Sonoma State. And I applied for Sonoma State on the very last day and then forgot about my application. I'm like, we'll see what happens. It's like, there's no way they'd hire me. Here I am. They're probably thinking we shouldn't have hired her, but I mean, it just was a natural progression. And it truly came out of, I had no ego about it. I just wanted, in every job that I did, I just wanted to be a really good coach. I wanted people to respect me. And I wanted my teams to be a product of my belief system. That if I do things right, if I do things a certain way, it will reflect in the team. And then when people come and watch the team, they'll be impressed. They'll say, wow, what a great team. What is it about that team? That's where I find my best satisfaction. So that's kind of how things came in front of me and I just went with faith. No preconceived notions, no nothing. I just kind of followed it. It wasn't easy. There were some really, really hard times. There were times I'm like, I did not sign up for this. This is crazy. I don't know what I got myself into. But eventually, with Sonoma State, the great joy of my coaching life has been watching the culture of the program become what it is. It is my great, great joy in life to see that. And that took a lot of hard work, but it's it's almost like at a point now where it just it's its own mechanism. It's so habitual now. So the players that came before left such a lasting impression that they have influenced all the other generations that are coming after. And what a gift that is as a coach. when you don't have to go in every year and retrain everybody, when they just know because they had other women before them that showed them how to do it. Is there anything greater than that? Like, what more could a coach want? What more could you ask for? I had a leadership council meeting last night, and I had missed the meeting the week before, and I told the group, I'm so sorry I missed the meeting. And one of my captains says to me, you know, Emiria, you never have to apologize to us. We never question your dedication. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I just want to cry. Like that council, they're so self-sufficient, and they have such belief in me and in themselves that when I miss the meeting, they don't skip a beat on any of it. What a gift.
Yeah.
And how many teams and how many coaches, like, if that would have been a problem, that would have been an issue, that would have been, we're going to reschedule. We're not even going to have the meeting because the coach isn't there, right? But they're like, we just had the meeting ourselves. Here's what we covered. Great. Yeah. Let me know. I mean, what that gives to you as a coach, to see women so comfortable, but also so respectful, is, oh gosh, it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how I got there.
No, it's okay. I love it. I think it's so cool how the team has that leadership amongst each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I think that you lead by example in that way. But so recently, speaking of the team though, I saw a video and I found out that you actually, there's no proper segue into this, but I found out that you were diagnosed with breast cancer and that you just recently completed radiation. Congrats on completing that.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that that's probably over with. You're probably happy that's over with.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm so proud of you, and you know that has probably been a very courageous and brave experience that you're having right now. And you know, if you have any like words that you want to share about, you know, maybe when you first found out and how you've kind of come to terms with what you've experienced so far.
Well, Margie was with me that day. Oh, Margie. Well, I should segue this by saying what an amazing person Margie has been in my life, because Margie came in at a time when that happened to me, and was there the day I got the call. We were actually headed out to practice. It was Friday. We had a super fun training scheduled, and me and Margie and Luna, you have to wait 1 minute, but sorry. And Margie and Luna and I were leaving the office, and I got the call. And I had been diagnosed with costochondroitis, which is something to do with the cartilage in your rib cage. I didn't think anything of it. I ended up having to do a biopsy because there were lumps there, but they thought it was scar tissue. So I didn't think anything of it. So anyway, I get the call and I said, oh, it's Kaiser. And they were in the office, Margie and Luna. And then I was like, I just heard the nurse's voice. And you know when someone has a tone and you're like, so she said, I have some news for you. And she said, it is cancer. And I was like, my whole world just fell away. It was like, you know, like when you are underwater in a bathtub and you know people are talking, but you can't make out the words. That's how I felt. And I remember, the only thing I truly remember was asking her, am I going to die? Like, where are we at? So, hi, honey. Hi. This is Ayla with his lizard.
Hi, APD.
Hi.
Hey, lizard, bro.
I'll be out in just a minute, okay, buddy? I'll be out in just a minute. So, we had to go to training, and I asked Margie and Luna, you're going to have to run the training. So I had sunglasses on, and I didn't want the team to know because I was still processing it. They knew something was up because I don't even know where I was. I don't know what was happening to me. And so I had to wait the next week to find out what type of cancer it was. It is aggressive. So I do have an aggressive form of cancer, but it was earlier stages. So that was helpful, stage 2. There are times in your life that are punctuated by a moment. And maybe it was a phone call. Maybe it was a conversation you had. Maybe it was, we all remember things in life. Like I remember the day this happened, or I remember this moment, or I remember the conversation I had. That was one of those moments. And everything in my life, it was as if a lot of bullshit fell away. And I realized how much energy I was spending on things that didn't grow me, that didn't help me, that didn't, I was so worried often about other people's feelings about me. And in that moment, it kind of all fell away. And like my son, for example, because when you're coaching, you give up a lot of family time. My son it was so clear to me that I had not prioritized him properly in the last year. Like things like that came to me. So I always say that cancer is a blessing because it writes your life. Like you just really realize in a lot of ways, like that you're not always living a right life. It's too complicated. It's not simple enough. You're not valuing the right things or the right people. So should I survive this and be able to live a longer life, it will be a great experience that I had to go through this. But it took me a while to get there because obviously we were in our season. So I was like, how do I show strength? I do not know how to show strength when I am not sure what is going to happen to me. Like, I don't know how to do it. And honestly, I think that's where Margie and Luna, they just swooped in right under me, and Lou, our goalkeeper coach, and carried the team. There are moments like I think I'm breaking down. I'm too tired. And without a moment's notice, they have the words to say. And that also comes from having 3 alumni as assistant coaches that know how lucky was I? I was so lucky that I had alumni there. And it was, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but I have come to a point where I accepted it happened. What?
Yeah, I love your response though about how it's just like these certain moments really have like defining times, and they make us become who we are. Mm-hmm. I think that you've been so strong in so many circumstances that if anybody is going to overcome this, it's you, Emiria, because you have.
Thank you, Carolyn.
So much. I mean, and you've inspired so many people already, and just you talking about your experience right now. I mean, you inspire me so much. So.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
Not to cry, but like.
Oh man, I've cried so many times, and I have felt sorry for myself, and I have like, why me? You know, I've done all of that. But surprisingly, it happened a couple of months ago, and when I started radiation, because I was terrified to go into chemo. I had many times where I was crying in chemo. But when I went to radiation, suddenly the fear left me, and I didn't want it to. I wanted it to stay because I wanted to remember the fight that I'm in, like not to take for granted where I'm at. But I think it's just come from complete acceptance of what has happened to me, and that I am being tested. And maybe these are the experiences that I've been through, so many hardships. Maybe this is why I should be coaching, because I'm like, you know, how can I coach like this? But then I think maybe I should be coaching because women need to see that you can do it. You can do it. You can get through it. And not
only did you get through it, but your team went on to have an undefeated season.
Yeah, they did. Aren't they great?
I just have goosebumps, you know.
They went undefeated. They were picked out of 12 schools, picked them to finish first, and then they went undefeated. And they were remarkable. They were so remarkable. Oh my gosh. I just want to hug and kiss every one of them because they were so inspired. They were so inspired. And I tried very, very hard not to have them feel the burden of I didn't want them to carry my burden. My burden is only mine. I tried very hard never to put it on the team. But they felt it. I mean, they knew what was up. I showed up to some games late because I had doctor's appointments or biopsies or MRIs or blood work or, you know, it's crazy stuff that I had to go through. And then we got evacuated from the fires. I mean, it was just, wow, what a time in life. But I think because I have allowed people to help me, and when people want to compliment me, I'm finally listening to it. Like, I'm finally able to say, thank you, I appreciate that, rather than like, no, like you do the don't compliment me, I don't. But now I'm able to receive it. So when someone wants to give me something, I receive it. When someone wants to tell me something nice, I receive it. I'm willing to hear it now, and that gives me a lot of strength. So I want my hair to grow back faster than it is now, because I still style it by licking my hand and just combing it down in the morning. But it's kind of cathartic to like lose everything and then, you know, come back new again. I don't know. It's been a crazy experience.
Emiria, I don't know. I mean, this is like my first time meeting you, and I just want to say that I'm like inspired by your entire story, just everything about you. I think that, you know, even just in this brief conversation that I've had, you know, and just listening to you, I feel like I feel like I know you. Like, it's weird, but I feel like you just are like, your soul and just everything about you is so light and just so refreshing. So, I mean, it's just so great to hear, you know, and congratulations again. You know, it's crazy to hear that, like, you know, you see the silver lining in all of the other hardships that you are facing. But I think that's exactly why you are in the position that you are right now, you know. To be able to share your story is very powerful, you know.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I can be very heavy, and I'm beginning to recognize the moments in my life where I allowed the heaviness to be at the forefront of my life, and that's a mistake. So I'm choosing to do it differently. And it's a choice. It doesn't just happen to you. You know, like when people want to change, oftentimes they say, well, that's just how I am. But I'm like, but if it hurts people, change. You can't be that way. So I'm trying really hard to use the experience to choose to be different and to grow from it. Because what is the point of going through this if I can't be a better coach? If I can't be a better human being, what's the point? Well, I'll have lost the lesson. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to do that. So at the end of my days, I can say I did it valiantly. I was faithful. I did the best I could. And I always tried to point people in a direction of positivity and hope. So now that I look at it a lot like that, it's a choice that I make to be that way. And I have a son to raise, you know, and I'm so grateful for him. You know, he's 6 years old. He's holding a lizard outside the door right now. It's amazing. So it's so cute. It's a leopard gecko. And you know what I mean? So I have so much to live for. So yeah. Thank you for saying that, Nancy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful, you know.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like
over through these moments, and
don't mind me.
Can I bring him to watch you guys train?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love that.
Oh my gosh. So do you have like a facility or like a training area that I could come? I want to come.
Right now, we do not.
Yeah, because you're
circumstances. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of we kind of hop around a little bit, like in the Santa Monica, Culver City area.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Okay. So I think maybe, yeah, I would love that. We can maybe organize and have you come out and tell them to make sure to bring the lizard.
Yeah.
We'll be our team mascot. It'll be fine. You have a little carrier.
Yeah.
The snake. Do not bring the snake.
No, the snake's not coming. No.
No snakes.
Oh, God.
I would love to come see you guys train. I would love to get behind what you're doing. And like sometimes you just need a witness to your training, right? Mm-hmm. You just want someone there to see what you're doing. You know, that sometimes is just enough to buoy you. Like, look at what we're doing. This is so cool. And I would love to be that for you if I can. Like, in any way that I can support you, I would love to do that. But I want to see it because I'm kind of jealous it wasn't around when I was out of college, because I'm like, I would have loved that. I would have loved to have played that.
Of
It would have
course.
been so
It's
so
it's
fun.
it's never too late. You can always jump on the table and play with us anytime you'd like.
Okay.
Exactly.
Maybe
I'm
even join us in a
I
Challenger
accept
Cup.
it.
Yeah,
We can
exactly.
be partners, you and I. You know, we can
Okay.
do doubles together. I got you.
Don't worry, I know her weaknesses. It's your left
Okay.
ankle.
Your left ankle.
Left ankle.
Low blow, Margie.
Hey, you gotta be a competitor sometimes.
Yeah.
She would say the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, this girl has a bad back, so you do
Yeah, I
anything
would.
in
I would
your power
totally
to
do
just
that.
go at that for sure."
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Do you guys have more questions or anything else? Like,
Just to kind of end it off, just a small piece of advice. What would you have for any female athletes pursuing a career in sports?
you know, I think a big one is never believing, never being average. Don't settle. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to be like others. Like, usually the great players are always the minority. They're always the minority. So when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, again, this phrase comes up to me. When you get comfortable being uncomfortable in that moment, that you're always going to be a minority, accept it. Don't look for affirmation from the status quo, because that doesn't get anybody anywhere. The only way to be great is by doing things a little differently than the status quo. And I see a lot of wonderful, great women or great potential athletes go back into their shell because it's too much of a burden to be out there on your own. So I would say never settle. And when you see greatness in another woman, is to affirm it. Like, wow, I see that you're always competitive in training. I know that that can be hard for you, but I really respect it. I admire that you do that. I'm not that way, but I admire that you do it. Or, you know, you stood up for us that day in training. Nobody said anything, and I regret that I should have said something, but I appreciate that you did that, because that took a lot of courage. So you don't have to be a person to recognize greatness in someone else. Like, you don't have to have that same greatness in you or that same capacity, but you can recognize when someone is doing those things. And I think that's what the world needs, is to capture people in moments of excellence, capture them being great, and then affirm it. So if you are yourself that person and you feel alone, eventually you will find the company of others who are great.
Yeah, and maybe
If you,
story
yeah,
you'll be inspiring others to be great too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then if you're not, but you see it in someone else, tell them that you see it, so that they know that, hey, it's okay to be this way. And I think that's so powerful. That's so powerful. And I try very hard to do that, is capture people being good. I do it a lot in training. Try to capture the good, the little things that are good. I think that's very important. Maybe that's a training principle for you guys too, is affirm each other and to capture someone doing something special. So you constantly have this culture of affirmation and of always pointing out when excellence is present. It's so valuable, because I don't know, I just find that to be a big piece of why some people don't have the courage to keep going on, because they don't always know that what they're doing is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone kind of wants a little bit of recognition, you know?
Yes.
What they're doing. That's very important.
So that's what I want to do for you guys. I want to be a witness to what you're doing. So I want to come see you. I want to check it out. I want to know what's going on. Margie, you better send me some videos. I know you sent me a few already, but like, I would love
I'll
to
get the
come
blow-up
and
mattress. You can come sit out and stay on the couch, whatever.
girl, I'm all about staying on the couch. I don't need much, just a couch and somewhere to brush my teeth, and I'm good to go. So
right, fair enough.
yeah, I'll talk to you about that too, Margie, because we're in summer now, but I would love to come down there and see you guys. So hopefully that becomes a possibility.
Of course.
Thank you for having me. I feel so honored.
Of
And
course.
such good questions. Thank you.
And just to kind of end this before we sign off, we are going to leave everyone, our viewers, and something with you. We're going to state one of our core values that we think really resides with just us as female athletes, kind of everything you've gone through, everything we've all gone through individually as a team so far. But it's one of our core values. It's number 11. We overcome adversity. Ruin is a gift. Ruin is the road to transformation.
I love that one.
Yeah,
Me
It's
too.
such a good one.
Yeah.
so good. Thank you
It
for leading
is.
us with that, Margie. And again, thank you, Emiria, so much for joining us and taking the time to chat with us and share your story and give us a lot of advice and just drop so much knowledge. And we appreciate it. We appreciate you again. And hopefully we get to see you soon and chat with you and keep in touch. But we look forward to doing all of that. And again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.